There is a man. He is 70 years old. He lives in a palace that creaks. He hangs portraits in the corridors. He shows them to guests with a trembling finger. He says, "This was my great great grandfather. He commanded the fleet. This was my great grandfather. He had 3,000 acres. This was my grandfather. He was received at court." And then he sits down. He adds nothing more. There is nothing more to add, because he has done nothing. He keeps names. He preserves dust. He carries a surname like a sarcophagus on his shoulders. This is the moment at which nobility is already dead. Not when it was abolished by decree. Not when revolutions severed heads or seized estates. Nobility dies earlier than that. It dies the moment it ceases to be a responsibility and becomes an ornament. When the name asks nothing of the person who bears it. When the past is no longer a compass, but a hiding place. Let us talk about nobility today. Not out of nostalgia, to understand what we have lost and what perhaps we never truly sought. Blood nobility was a system, brutal in many respects, certainly. It closed doors. It made the social ladder almost as steep as a rock face. You were born a peasant, you died a peasant. You were born noble, you had access to worlds others could not even imagine. It was not fair. I am not pretending it was, but it had a logic. That logic was this: someone must be the custodian of values. Someone must know what built the world we inhabit. Someone must feel the weight of continuity. The noble family was not merely an economic privilege. It was a function. It was a living archive. It was a body that transmitted from generation to generation, not only patrimony, but a way of being in the world, a style, a discipline, an understanding that certain values must be defended even when it is inconvenient. Think of a medieval knight, not the knight of fairy tales, a man formed from childhood for a precise mission. They taught him to fight, yes, but they also taught him to protect, not to strike the weak, to honor his word, to die rather than betray. It was a hard code, often broken, as all hard codes are, but it existed. And its existence created a form that society recognized and demanded. When that form disappeared, it did not disappear with nothing. It disappeared with something. Today, we live in republics. Many monarchies survive, but they survive as symbols, as beautiful institutional postcards. The real power is elsewhere. The principle of merit, of free competition, of equality before the law. All magnificent, at least on paper. Look at any European parliament. Count the surnames that repeat themselves. The senator's son who becomes a member of parliament, the minister's daughter who lands the right appointment on the right committee, the banker's nephew who joins the board of directors at 32, and nobody quite explains why. Look at a hospital. The consultant has a son. The son studies medicine. The son becomes a specialist in his father's department. Coincidence? Look at universities, the appointments, the positions, the names on certain CVs that open doors like secret passwords. We abolished blood nobility. We kept the hereditary transmission of power. We eliminated the code. We kept the privilege. We took the worst part and discarded the best. Because the best part was this: the nobleman knew he was noble. He knew it explicitly. And that awareness carried with it a French phrase worth more than 1,000 laws. Noblesse oblige. Those born high must give more. They cannot afford mediocrity. They cannot look away when the weak are in need. They cannot use power merely to multiply themselves. Noble blood was a mandate, not a dividend. Today, the politician's son who enters politics carries no such mandate. Nobody asks it of him. Nobody forms him to feel the weight of what he receives for nothing. He enters the system, uses the doors his father opened, builds his career on a foundation he did not lay, and nobody tells him this obliges you to something. Nobody tells him you must account for yourself. And he never asks it of himself. This is the void we have created: an aristocracy without aristos, privilege without virtue, a social ladder with hidden rungs, which exists but cannot be named, because we live in a republic, all equal before the law, and it would be uncomfortable to admit that this is not true. Some say, let us return to blood nobility, a romantic answer, a useless one. History does not reverse itself. Centuries do not run backwards. And honestly, it would not even be desirable. Those closed doors excluded too much intelligence, too much talent, too much life born in the wrong place. But something must be recovered. Not the form, the principle. The principle is simple and uncomfortable in equal measure. Those who receive more must give more. Those born with open doors carry a debt, a real debt, not a metaphorical one. And that debt is repaid in responsibility, in service, in faithfulness to something beyond oneself. Perhaps we should begin here, with an honest conversation, with a culture that stops pretending the starting lines are equal, and begins to say plainly, you started with an advantage. Good. What do you do with it? Do you use it to build or to accumulate? To protect or to dominate? But there is something more radical I want to say to you. Nobility does not belong to a bloodline. It never truly did. The blood was the container. The content was something else. The content was an orientation of the soul. Think of Francis of Assisi, the son of a wealthy merchant. He could have lived in comfort, multiplied the family fortune, built a perfectly respectable bourgeois life before the word even existed. Instead, he felt something. He felt that there was a higher direction. He chose poverty not out of self-punishment, but out of faithfulness to a value that seemed to him absolute. He chose the beauty of simplicity against the ugliness of possession as an end in itself. He was noble, not by blood. Think of Simone Weil, Jewish, French, an intellectual of the first rank. She could have written from Parisian drawing rooms. Instead, she went to work in a factory. She wanted to feel on her own body what it means to be a worker. She wrote that contact with material necessity is the only true way to understand the human condition. She ruined her health. She died at 34. She was noble, not by blood, by choice. These are the true aristocrats, not those who display portraits in corridors, not those who carry a surname like a sarcophagus, those who chose to orient themselves towards something that endures, toward justice, toward truth, toward peace, toward beauty. These four words are not abstractions. They are measures. They are the compass of a noble life. When you face a difficult choice, you ask yourself, is this just? Not, does this serve me? When you speak, you ask yourself, is this true? Not, does this make me look good? When you hold power over someone weaker, you ask yourself, how can I build peace here? Not, how can I use this position? When you create something, anything, a project, a relationship, a gesture, you ask yourself, is this beautiful? Not in the shallow aesthetic sense, beautiful in the deeper sense, worthy, whole, equal to what a human being can be. This is the nobility that has never died because it does not depend on a decree. It cannot be abolished by revolution. It is not inherited automatically at birth, nor lost automatically through poverty. It is a choice, every day, a choice that demands effort and carries with it something that softness never carries: dignity. Sterile nostalgia for the past is not nobility. It is its opposite. It is abdication dressed up as respect for tradition. True tradition is not carried on the shoulders like a dead weight. It is carried forward like a flame. It is given to those who come after us, more alive than we received it, not as a heraldic motto on a dusty coat of arms, as a concrete question every morning, addressed to anyone who has received something fine from this life. What do you do with what you have? What do you build? What do you protect? To what do you remain faithful when it costs you something? That is what matters.